Chris, I heard you were on the road this week.
We were, yeah. It's good to be back on the road. Obviously, we've been doing it a little bit, and you and I met for the first time in person, I guess, a couple months ago at this point. But yeah, it's good to be back out on the road. And we were OhioX. We were in Cincinnati at the Cincinnati Innovation District, specifically the 1819 Innovation Hub, which is the University of Cincinnati's kind of leadership and play into building Cincinnati into an innovation ecosystem and a big hub there. And so we were down there with 3 state representatives to take a look at some of the updates of what's happening. So thanks to Representative Rick Carfagna, Representative Mark Frazier, who's the chair of the new Ohio Technology and Innovation Committee, and then Representative Young for visiting with us and going down to Cincinnati to check out what's happening on campus. And specifically have to thank David Adams, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at the University of Cincinnati and the chief architect of the Innovation District. And so really cool, really fascinating. They have one physical building, and they have a bunch more being built that actually has 100% occupancy. It's basically like a who's list of all the corporates in Cincinnati, and where they're doing a ton of like tech and innovative work, R&D. And so it's really, really cool to see that this model, which is, designed and researched after some of the places in Silicon Valley and Boston and Pittsburgh that have really popped up across the country and world. So kudos to them and thank you to them for a great visit.
Is it a collaboration hub? So when you say different companies have space in that building, is it an area to innovate and to kind of collaborate?
Yeah, absolutely. And so like a lot of, you'll kind of, as you walk around, and it's the glass walls. I mean, it's in an old kind of industrial building that's been rehabbed and revitalized. So it's a really cool facility. But you'll see Fifth Third, and then you'll see Kroger, and they're all open concepts. And it's a lot of their innovation work, and they also do work to kind of bring collaboration between the companies, and obviously with them being a university, pumping students and kind of new perspectives and new ideas into their pipeline. So
Wow.
It's really a really, really cool facility. They're just getting started. It's only been around for a couple of years, and obviously we've been in a pandemic. So, only looking up for what's happening in Cincinnati in this space.
That's great. Are they encouraging startups too, or is it more of like a CapEx R&D type of thing?
It's startups as well. And I think the statistic that I heard was before this got all started, it was like 2 startups a year that were getting spun out and actually developing products. And at last count, I think it was 52. So they've seen big multiples of startups being built out. And again, they've studied Stanford and other places of how can they commercialize, take intellectual property, take the research that's happening on campus, encourage their professors, their researchers, to spin it out, create new companies. And so that it's from startups to the big co-innovation and everything in between.
Great. It's happening in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
good to see.
cool.
There's another big raise heading a little bit north this week. You have news of a big raise this week, another one?
Yep, Olive, which is the big health tech in Ohio. It is now the biggest tech unicorn that our state has. It's $4 billion after their newest $400 million round. And they're doing a bunch of great work around AI and kind of the back-end process automation for healthcare companies and firms and hospitals to automate tasks is essentially what they're doing. And their $400 million round is led by some of the biggest venture capital firms out there. It's a really incredible story. Their founder, Sean Lane, who's actually, like me, a Miami University grad, which is really cool. But they're, just really, really building, and they have a goal of doubling its 800-person workforce in this next year.
Doubling. Do you know what type of work are they looking for? Is it technical engineering? Is it clinical in nature?
Yeah, so I mean, it's largely tech. So they are a digital health startup. So a tech company. So it's largely tech focused. They've also been very forward looking on what that future of work looks like, and so they're one of those kind of innovative companies that if you go to their website, and we share a bunch at jobs.ohiox.org, our job site, they have a lot of them are remote. And so they kind of have this really cool concept about, remote, and then they'll build hubs in different cities. If I think they call them Olivians, the people on their Olive teams, if they have, say 10 people in Baltimore, they'll create like a mini hub that can bring people together. So it's a really cool company. Anyone who hasn't heard about them, check them out, but massive, massive tech startup.
Wow, good news. And lastly, I mean, what do we have last on the list today?
Yeah, so another really great fundraising round. This is a company with roots in their headquarters in Cincinnati, also up in Columbus, but it's Physna. They're a 3D geometric search company. So it's kind of like a Google search company, 3D models, and it's just really advanced stuff. It's a $56 million Series B raise. So
Wow.
$56 million, that's a big round, and it's kind of as part of this trend we've been talking about of these Series A and Series Bs that are in that $40 to $50 million range. But it's just kind of the latest. And, they'll be hiring, they'll be kind of growing and kind of continuing to build out this technology, which is really, really impressive stuff.
Yeah, it sounds too complicated to ask further questions, so we'll just put links below.
You don't know what to ask. I don't know what to answer other than it's
cool that it's happening. And what was that? I'm throwing something else in new. I saw action this week. Ohio getting some heat for its ad campaigns. Did you see that news?
No, I didn't. No.
Something because I know New York and San Francisco we ran ad campaigns. Something crossed my inbox that
there was some shade that the city of New York took Cleveland,
tweeting at Cleveland.
Yeah, the city of New York, for those that didn't see it, tweeted something
but at least it's not Cleveland.
Yeah, at least it's not Cleveland, and everyone's like, well, here's a million reasons why that at least it's not New York. So it was kind of weird, but the best takeaway I saw, and I forgot who put this out there, was essentially people that aren't threatened or don't feel threatened, meaning Cleveland's doing some good stuff, typically don't pay attention to people that don't matter. And so there's a reason New York's, probably a little scared of cities like Cleveland, where you can, maybe have a work-life balance that you can't in the, Upper East Side.
Right. Well, having lived there, yes, I can speak to that. So,
well, anyway, Jeff, you're always asking me my events. What do you all have?
Hey, we got a cyber event. So, as cybersecurity, it's an old topic, but it's obviously in the news every single day these days with all the ransomware attacks. I think the Rebel group out of Russia is the one behind a lot of the attacks. It's very high on the agenda because everyone is subject to ransomware and cyber, right? Anyone can be impacted. And small businesses are actually better, softer targets because they typically don't invest in technology infrastructure. So we're having a live virtual event with a cyber panel comprised of legal, accounting, financial, technology, a diverse set of perspectives on cyber and how to defend yourself against ransomware attacks. That's on Tuesday. We'll put a registration link in the notes below, but would love to see you guys there.
Yeah, important space, and as you said, it's in the news, every single day, and that's kind of that next frontier of challenges, to say the least.
Yeah, and I don't, uneducated opinion, but banning Bitcoin will not stop these. You know what I mean? I've heard that put out there. Why would you? Bitcoin is the main driver of how they're compensated, but I don't think shutting down global Bitcoin is going to help.
I don't think so either. But Jeff, I'll close this one as we're coming up on, I think, 9 minutes. But great catching up, and we'll put some of these stories in the links. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
See ya.